Your whole life, you've been told the same thing. Debt is dangerous. Pay it off. Stay away. And for most people, that's good advice. But here's what nobody explains. While you're avoiding debt, the richest people in the world are borrowing more money than ever. Billions of it. And getting richer every time they do. Same word. Two completely different games. Today, I'm showing you the 6 ways the wealthy use debt as a wealth-building tool. Why banks roll out the red carpet once you cross roughly $100,000 in assets, and which of these moves you can actually copy at normal person scale. Quick disclaimer, this is education, not financial advice. Debt is a power tool. Power tools build houses, and power tools take off fingers. By the end, you'll know the difference. First, the rule that separates the rich from everyone else. It fits in one sentence. The poor borrow to buy things that lose value. The rich borrow to buy things that grow. A car loan, a credit card balance, financing a couch. That's debt attached to stuff that's worth less every single day. The payment stays full size while the thing shrinks. That kind of debt is a leak. Now flip it. When debt buys an asset, a rental property, a business, a stock portfolio, the asset grows while the debt stays fixed. The gap between those two lines, that gap is wealth, and it was built with someone else's money. And here's why I call it the 100K rule. At roughly $100,000 in assets, the financial system quietly changes how it treats you. Banks start offering you the tools I'm about to show you. Portfolio credit lines, better rates, investment property loans. The same institutions that charged you 24% on a credit card will hand the asset-rich money at 6%. The system has 2 menus. Let's read the second one. The crown jewel, the securities-backed line of credit. Instead of selling investments and paying capital gains tax, wealthy people pledge their portfolio as collateral and borrow cash against it. Think about what that does. The portfolio keeps growing untouched. No sale means no tax bill. And the loan money? Loans aren't income, so that cash arrives completely tax-free. A billionaire can fund an entire lifestyle this way while reporting almost no income at all. If this sounds familiar, it's the engine inside the buy, borrow, die strategy. I made a full video breaking that down, link on screen. But here's what most people miss. This isn't only for billionaires. Many brokerages open these lines at around $100,000 in investments, at rates that embarrass every credit card in your wallet. Real estate is where ordinary people meet leverage for the first time. Most just never do the math on what's actually happening. Put 20% down on a $300,000 property, and you control the entire $300,000. If it appreciates 5%, that's $15,000 of gain. But you only invested $60,000. That's a 25% return on your money from a 5% move. That multiplication is leverage, and it's the reason real estate built more American millionaires than almost anything else. And while that's happening, a tenant is paying down the mortgage. You put in the down payment, someone else retires the debt. The bank provided most of the capital. 3 parties, and the equity lands on your side of the table. Here's the quietest trick on this list. When you lock in a fixed-rate loan for decades, you're making a bet that dollars will be worth less in the future. And that bet almost always wins, because inflation is government policy. The wealthy borrow today's expensive dollars and repay with tomorrow's cheap ones. A $2,000 monthly mortgage payment feels heavy this year. 20 years of inflation later, that same fixed payment can feel like lunch money, while rents around it doubled. Every year of inflation is quietly shrinking the debt in real terms, and the borrower does absolutely nothing. Savers fight inflation their whole lives. Strategic borrowers put it on the payroll. Every business empire you can name runs on this one. Borrow at one rate, earn at a higher one, keep the difference. A business borrows at 7%, opens a location that returns 20%, and pockets the 13-point spread, multiplied by as much capital as it can responsibly deploy. That's not reckless. That's arithmetic. The rich ask one question before touching debt. What does this money earn versus what does it cost? If the earning number is bigger, the debt isn't a burden. It's an employee. Notice the contrast. Consumer debt asks, can I afford the payment? Wealth debt asks, what's my spread? Different question, different life. This is the move that separates investors from everyone else. The refinance cycle. Buy a rundown property with a loan. Renovate it. Now it appraises higher. So you refinance, and the bank hands you back most of your original down payment in cash. Tax-free because it's a loan. Then you use that same money to buy the next property, and the next. One pile of starting capital used 5 times. 5 income-producing assets, all bought with what was essentially the same down payment. Meanwhile, the tenants service all 5 mortgages. This is how people go from one rental to a portfolio without ever earning a giant salary. The capital never retires. It just keeps getting redeployed. Last one, and it's the government's own gift. Interest on debt used for business and investment is usually tax-deductible. Interest on consumer debt is not. Borrow for a rental property or a business, and the interest comes off the taxable income. The government is effectively subsidizing your borrowing cost. Borrow for a vacation on a credit card, and you pay every cent with zero help. Same interest, opposite treatment. The tax code is openly telling you which kind of debt it wants you to have. The rich read the memo. Most people never do. Before the rules you can copy, step back and look at the whole board, because there's a pattern hiding in everything we just covered. The financial system doesn't have one interest rate. It has a ladder, and your position on it depends almost entirely on what you own. At the bottom, the payday loan. For someone with no assets and no buffer, borrowing costs can work out to 300 or 400% a year. One rung up, the credit card, 20 to 28%, offered to almost anyone with a paycheck. Then the car loan, then the mortgage, single digits now because there's a house standing behind it. Keep climbing. The investor with a 6-figure portfolio gets a securities-backed line in the mid-single digits. And at the very top, billionaires borrow against company stock at rates that look like rounding errors. Now notice the cruel joke. The people who can least afford expensive debt are charged the most for it, and the people who least need cheap money are begged to take it. That's not a conspiracy. It's collateral. Every asset you own is a discount coupon on your next dollar of borrowing. And this is the real meaning of the 100K rule. That first 100,000 in assets isn't just money. It's a ladder pass. It moves you from the floors where debt eats people to the floors where debt works for them. Same borrower, same income, completely different menu. Which means every dollar you save is quietly doing 2 jobs, growing on its own and cutting the price of every loan you'll ever take. Climb one rung and the math of your entire financial life changes. So, what's usable at normal scale? 3 rules. Rule 1. Never borrow for anything that falls in value. If it depreciates, pay cash or skip it. This single filter eliminates the debt that keeps households poor. Rule 2. Only borrow when the asset can pay the loan. A rental where rent covers the mortgage passes. A bigger house because the bank approved you? That's consumption wearing an investment costume. Rule 3. Respect the blade. Leverage multiplies both directions. In 2008, over-leveraged investors lost everything. Not because assets went to zero, but because payments came due in the 1 year prices dipped. The rich survive that year because they keep cash buffers and never borrow to the max. Which, by the way, is exactly why your first $10,000 matters so much. I built an entire video on that number. It's on your screen. Debt won't make you rich by itself. But understanding it means you stop playing defense in a game where the other side has been playing offense for a century. Next up, the strangest wealth story ever told. how Warren Buffett made almost all of his 100 billion after most people retire, using math so boring nobody copies it. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you there.